guys, welcome to the Onelife Podcast. Here with Ray. He's got a business currently running this year, right?
Yes, sir.
How far in are you?
About 9 months now.
9 months. And it's water into wine, correct?
Water to wine, yes,
What
sir.
is water into wine?
So water to wine is the
Water to wine or water?
to wine, yeah.
Water to wine, okay.
Water to wine. So we offer private sommelier services, which is just wine tastings, wine events, charcuterie boards.
I love charcuterie.
Anything wine related. My wife does all the creative stuff, and I just get to teach about the wine. So
So she preps the food and thing, does she?
Absolutely.
And she displays it nice and pretty.
Yes.
Which guys generally are bad at, right?
Yeah, if it was up to me, it would just be a plain black tablecloth.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You'd be serving yourselves, but she's the creative mind behind the whole thing, and I just cut the cheese.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So 9 months in. So what makes you start a business like this? Obviously, there's a passion there somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know, when I was in my early 20s, to take it way back, actually I was addicted to Coke, and I was an alcoholic. So after about 3 years of that, I got sober for well over a year. I met my wife. I found my faith, and that's where the name Water to Wine comes from.
So it was like a bad thing, and then one little thing to another good thing to another good thing.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Do you mind if I ask you how did you fall in that trap in the first place? Like what age was it? Was something gone wrong? Was it?
I lost a son when I was 19 years old. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So this,
okay.
you know, so when I was young, and that kind of spiraled into a lot of really bad seasons in my life. And you know, I was obviously already drinking. I just kept drinking more and more, and then experiencing more loss and more defeats and more uncertainty about my own life. So I used alcohol as a
it was like a mask in a way, like just
yeah,
to keep
exactly.
your mind off it.
Exactly. So it was a Band-Aid, and then that turned into
Band-Aid being a good word. Okay.
That turned into me, you know, doing coke, and then that was just occasional until it wasn't occasional anymore, and then it was every day. So
was it just like when you're high or when you're drunk, you didn't think about it, and then when you came down, it would have come straight back to your mind? That would be the first thing.
Oh yeah.
So you'd have to like stick that Band-Aid back on it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's how do you deal with that? What is the right way to deal with that? I couldn't imagine. I got a daughter. I couldn't imagine how to deal with that.
Man.
Nowhere would you want to. Where would you go? Who would you seek? Like, did you have family around you? Like,
you know, I have family, but I didn't have a solid foundation in my family. A lot of my family was kind of a safety net. So I would go out, I'd make a lot of mistakes, and then I would have my folks to bail me out, or I'd have, you know, cousins and brothers and people that were willing to, you know, come to my rescue or give me money, because I was being irresponsible. You know, I wasn't really dealing with what I needed to deal with.
Were you working? Were you making money?
Oh yeah, I was working. So I was you know, semi-functional.
But you just blowing all your money and just masking it.
Yeah,
any way
absolutely.
you could.
At the peak of it, I was doing Uber full time. So I would like run up, you know, a couple grand or something in Uber over a few days. Just work, you know, 12, 13 hours, make a bunch of money, pay my bills for a week, and then I would go pick up and go on like a 3-day bender.
Gotcha. And then
Yeah.
So that job kind of kept you afloat, but also kept you in it.
Yeah.
Whereas you didn't have a true responsibility where you're going to get fired or call in or get late.
Exactly.
You're working your own schedule.
I didn't have to. Yeah.
So that kind of.
Yeah. So I found a way to make sure that in theory nothing bad was going to happen, right? That I would be okay, and you know, it's kind of the worst way.
What was the turning point? Did you get in trouble with the law? Did you go too far one time? Was you close to like ODing? Like what was the turning point?
You know, I met my wife at the time. She was just a friend. March of 2019. She has a big faith, so she was going to church. So I went with her.
Where'd you meet your wife?
Here in Vegas.
Like through a friend?
Oh, on Bumble. Actually.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Dude, I keep hearing success stories about these online platforms.
Funny enough, man, you know, they kind of get a bad rap, but you just never know. You know
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
27.
Okay, so you're pretty young. I'm 42.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So the whole online thing is still a little bit like different for me, meeting a lifelong partner.
Yeah.
But I mean, at your age, I feel like it's super common.
Yeah, I mean, I never expected it, right? But
yeah.
You know, it just happens the way it happens. So.
But I mean, your process of elimination, like certain things you like, don't like, you can eliminate. rather than going on 50 dates to find out what you can find out in 2 seconds.
That's right.
So you Bumble, what'd you do first date?
First date, we went to Sofrito Rico down there on Charleston and
What
Decatur.
is that? What restaurant's that?
Puerto Rican food.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
It's like
I
one
love
of
Puerto
the two
Rican.
in the whole
Nice.
the whole town. Yeah, man. So we went there. She worked at the Mirage, so we thought about going to a Beatles love show, skipped that, and she just took me to some ice cream place at the Link.
Gotcha.
Ghirardelli, I think.
And then she was quite religious, and she kind of, I'm guessing she had a life together a bit better than you did at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So she she had a great job, good car, great credit, all the whole 9 yards. She was the whole package, and here she was with this guy, and so I started going to church with her a couple of times a week. I received a prophecy one time, and God was just telling me that I'd be in a dangerous situation, others would get hurt and I wouldn't, and kind of brushed it off. That was the first time I ever went to a church, as an adult.
So you didn't grow up religious with no religion?
No, my parents were one way and the other. My dad kind of didn't care. My mom talked to us a little bit about it, but didn't model it.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't grow up with any religion, so I'm not for it or against it. I just didn't grow up with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you're in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
My parents were big proponents of just hey, make your own decisions and decide for yourself. So that was good, and I'm right there with them.
Okay.
So I'm going with her, and that was March 19, and then in June of 19, while I was driving, I was doing Uber, got into a car accident, and I was the only one that didn't go to the hospital. And
oh damn.
Yeah, so I remembered that moment.
Whose fault was it?
On paper, it was my fault.
Okay.
But it's the whole thing.
Yeah, hearsay type thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I was just trying to make a left. This guy was coming out the wrong way. So me trying to adjust to oncoming traffic. The guy hit me. So.
And were you hungover or anything like that?
No, I never drank and I never used when I was driving.
Okay.
When I was at work, I was all business.
You're good to. Okay, it's just sheer bad luck.
Yeah.
And what was it about that was it the fact you could have been injured or killed? Was like a wake up call, or
no? So I just remembered that moment when somebody. So when you receive prophecy, most of the time it's somebody that doesn't know much about you. At least where we were going, they didn't know anything about me, and they were telling me like, hey, this is what's getting ready to happen to you. This is where you're at now, and this is what's going to happen. So I kind of took that to heart, and I remembered that moment when God told me that you would be in a dangerous situation and not get injured. So I was like, oh wow, okay. So like here's this time that's happening to me, and then I kind of held on to that. So I went. I had to stop doing Uber, and I ran out of money, and I took the first job I could get, which was that tropical smoothie.
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah, so I'm making minimum wage, and my half of rent, because I'm on the south side, is like $680.
Yeah.
So I had just enough money for all my bills.
So you're just getting by.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing anything besides showing up to work, going home, and just being at home.
Not living, surviving.
Yeah, exactly.
I always talk about this.
Just
when
surviving.
you're making minimum wage, you're not living. You're surviving.
Not at all. Not at all.
And you're counting down the hours. You're watching that clock tick by. You're wishing your life away.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's not living.
Yeah, man. I remember a moment where I had to find all the change I could get to go to the grocery store and get something to eat, because I didn't have anything.
And so, as bad as it is at the time, I sometimes think it's a good thing to have lows like that.
Oh yeah.
Because then when you get above that, you never want to go back to it.
Absolutely.
If you never experience those lows, you never know. You never my car's ran out of gas. My car's broken down. I've struggled to pay for food. I've this. I've that. But I remember those things for the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
And you can also instill that in your children, your family, to be more prepared and not make those mistakes.
Yeah.
But you got to go through that, right?
Oh yeah, and something about those moments, if you look at them the right way, they'll give you
the right way being a good way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you look at them the right way, they'll give you a drive. They'll give you a hunger and a desire to know.
I never want to be back here.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm gonna promise myself, and there's gonna be tough moments, right? Like you still might end up, low on money and out of gas and all those things one day. But that you've made it out before.
That's a good point.
So like now, man, like okay, so I've already had to pay for food with change. So I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that my daughter doesn't have to do that, right? But even if it does get there, I know that I'm capable of doing whatever I have to do to make sure she eats too.
Yeah, I like that. I had a guy the other day, and he's super successful, going through massive problems with his business.
Yeah.
But he goes, I liked it because it taught me how tough I could be
Oh yeah.
and how relentless I am. And if I go through this again, I know I'm going to be fine.
Absolutely.
And I feel like you got to those highs and lows to get the strength to realize that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Things are always going to work out eventually.
Of course.
But at the time, it feels like the world's upside down, everything's against you.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes practice and resilience and experience to develop that, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So how'd you go from? So what happened for Tropical? You're at Tropical Smoothie, just surviving.
Yeah.
You're with your girl at the time, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
So was it her gave a kick in the butt? Like what made you step up, and how'd you step up from there?
Yeah. So before I got in my accident, she left me because she was tired of dealing with me and seeing me strung out and miserable and sad. And she's like, yeah, you know, I care.
So you're
about
still
you.
drinking and stuff when you're with her.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
I was still drinking from the time I met her to June. So she saw me at the very end of it, which was also the very worst of it.
Okay.
So for about 3 months, you know, and so she left me. She broke up with me. It's like, hey, I can't do this anymore. But she would still, and she wouldn't talk to me. It's a weird moment, and she doesn't like when I share this part. But she wouldn't talk to me. She would pick me up twice a week after I got in a car accident, no car. She would pick me up Sundays and Wednesdays to go to church.
Oh, would you?
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so she was faithful in that, you know, and that's the best
She's
thing
still there
she did
for you.
Yeah,
She
absolutely.
just didn't want to be with you.
Yeah,
But that was also your own fault, wasn't it?
Exactly.
And you
Exactly.
probably understand that 100% now.
Yeah.
Did you understand it at the time? You just didn't know how to change that, or were you?
I wasn't mad at her. I mean, I usually like after a breakup, it would take me a couple weeks. I don't know how long it takes everybody else. Maybe a couple weeks, and I'll be over it. And then I couldn't get over her. You know, so
Which is
like,
a good
man.
sign, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that couple weeks, I said, man, I'm gonna get sober. So I stopped doing coke first, and then I stopped drinking. Like the early July, after I got the job, I stopped drinking.
How were you affording to do this if you're like just getting by? I mean, that's got to be expensive. Like,
yeah, I had a few bucks left over, and I remember having to go pay my rent. And I went to the PTs and I played Keno because that's what I was always doing.
Okay.
When I was drunk and high, I played Keno and I won enough money to pay my rent, and then I had a little extra. So
yeah, but how'd you do that on a consistent basis?
Oh,
like, I mean, even like,
you mean before my car accident?
Yeah, just in general. Like, you're just getting by. You're working a minimum wage job.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep your addictions, but also just pay regular day bills?
So after the accident, I was working minimum wage. I was only using and drinking for another 2 weeks because that's all I could afford.
Gotcha.
Yeah. After that, you know, I got this job, and that's
So the Uber was before that was fine.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So like that car accident, losing that car was, you know, one of the best things that had happened to me, and it was a key turning point.
Kicked you out of your job that you were using to pay for your addiction.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yes. So I got sober in July. And, you know, I moved up all the way to GM at Tropical Smoothie, got my own store and stuff like that. And, you know, my wife didn't, Kara, that's her name. She didn't talk to me. But as I got sober.
Did you tell her you got sober, or you just kind of like?
I told her.
Okay.
I told her, you know, everything that I was.
Well, I guess you're seeing her twice a week too, right?
Yeah.
So you're probably talking to her a little bit.
I was talking to her. She just wasn't talking to me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So she really liked you then.
Yeah, that's what she says. I wasn't really sure. But,
what's she saying you think?
I don't know.
That takes a pretty special person, I think. To see the best out of you when you're at your worst.
Yeah.
And just still stay that, like.
Man, it was
especially in Vegas. I couldn't tell you many people would do that, guy or girl.
No, and you know, it's crazy because, you know, it's in her nature to run when things get hard. You know, and I'm not talking bad about her because I tell her this all the time, you know, but.
So you guys kind of connected from day one in a way, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
that
interesting.
And I mean, just we're like polar opposites, you know, in attitude and everything else.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, she wasn't what I thought I would go for. You know, she wasn't my type, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So how long were you sober before she's like, hey, like this guy is really making a change and he's sticking to it?
Sober for about 3 mons.
Oh wow.
And then
so
we got back together.
She made you work for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and as I grew in my faith, and as she saw that I was being consistent, you know, and I wasn't using, and I didn't want to, and I was pursuing her. The car rides got longer, and then she would talk to me, and we would sit
Okay.
outside and just kind of chat. It was a long, gradual relationship that was rebuilt,
Okay,
from scratch.
that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you, was it hard to just go cold turkey and just stop? What, like, what do you tell someone going through that? I don't think it's hard enough giving up cigarettes, never mind like that type of addiction.
Yeah, I think you need a foundation in something else, because you're not your addiction.
So the foundation being like the church and the religion.
It doesn't have to be that. I mean,
but for you, that's what it was?
Yeah, for me, that's what it was.
Okay.
That was helpful.
What's some other examples of a foundation that somebody could use?
So I believe that like we'll call people addicts, and that makes it their identity. So whatever foundation you choose, your identity has to be that foundation. You're not an addict. You're a person who's struggling with an addiction.
As a guy I look up to, I can't remember his name. He's talking about like, if you're a smoker, you're trying to quit, and you say
James Clear. It's in Atomic Habits.
There's another guy. It's an English guy, and he's like, rather than saying I'm an ex-smoker, he's like, I'm a non-smoker.
Yeah.
I don't smoke.
Yeah, I don't smoke.
So rather than relating back to I used to do it, saying, hey, this is my new identity, and you're not relating to that old identity.
Exactly.
And it's very simple, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're touching on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important, man, because if if all you see yourself is as an alcoholic, and then
or an ex-alcoholic,
or an ex-alcoholic.
I used to have an addiction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I even the way I talk, like, I don't ever say when this happens or if this happens. I'm always like 100% committed when I say something.
Yeah.
When my business is successful, this is how. It's not if and when or why. It's like, no, this is fact. I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah, I'm taking the word "try" out of my vocabulary for that.
Try
same
being a good
reason.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll talk to people and they're like, because I just quit my job, and they're like, oh, what are you doing now? Oh, I'm just trying to build better habits, and
I'm going to build better habits.
And
I'm building better habits.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
These are the things that I am doing.
I live and breathe that too.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so man, I believe you're in a situation like that. You need a different identity. You need a firm foundation in something, something that is not what you use, and you need a support system. In my case, I had Kiera, who, the way that she served me in that time was she would pick me up and take me to church. Maybe you have somebody that serves you by way of just checking in, having a coffee with you every day, or coming by and talking with you.
Just somebody,
whatever it is.
I feel like a lot of people don't even have someone they can call half the time.
Absolutely.
So just someone you can call.
Yeah.
How your environment? Were you doing this by yourself? Were you out with friends doing this?
So it was like the same two friends,
Okay, so you had a bad environment, and you weren't helping each other.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Except he, the guy that I was with most of the time, he didn't have as much problem as I did. I mean, I'm sure that he was still. I've seen him go a week or two and not worry about not using. Right. So it was more recreational for him. For me, it was medicine.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. And are you still friends with these guys? Have you got them? Okay, so that's what I want to touch on. Yeah. So environmental being super important as far as how do you break away from that? Is it going back to the support system?
It's a tough conversation to have when you got to tell people, hey, this is not who I am anymore. I'm not doing this. And
you said that to these guys?
Yeah. So I'm like, hey man, I stopped. I stopped using, and first couple of times they'll offer, and see if you take the bait or whatever it is, and after a while, like let's say you don't drink, right? But your core group of friends drink. You decide, I'm not a drinker. That's it. And typically you go out to the bar every week or to the club or whatever it is. You start telling people like, no, I don't drink, or you show up and you don't drink with them, they'll stop inviting you because you don't fit into what they're trying to do.
Interesting, which is probably a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, if you want to build a business, you have to surround yourself with entrepreneurs, people that are like-minded. So if all of your friends want to do one particular thing and you're not a part of that, you're kind of odd man out now. You know, but
That's
it's good.
I love what you're saying. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're on the wrong room.
That's
You
why I
hang
quit
out,
my job, man.
yeah, you hang out with people who drink, smoke, go out on the weekends.
Yeah.
You're not gonna go to the gym on the weekends.
Yeah.
You're gonna fall in that trap. And
They
not
say,
necessarily that's a bad thing. It's just, where do you want to be in life?
Exactly.
If you want more, you need to change that.
Yeah. There's a quote, I don't know who it's by, but he says, "There's the sum of you are the sum of your 5 closest friends."
Yeah.
You know, so you look at everybody that's around you. You are those people,
Physically and financially.
absolutely.
Yeah. Just to touch on that, if you take your 5 closest friends, your income added up, divided by 5, that's what your income is.
Yeah, that's
Hanging
a good
out,
point.
you hang out with millionaires, you'll be the next millionaire.
No, wow.
It's the same.
That's a good
There's a
word.
million different ways of putting it, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
And like the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
You want to be around, and that's what I love about this podcast. I'm around people who hustle, people doing
Yeah.
better than me, people making me accountable. I'm like, hey, I can do more, I can train more, I can eat better, I can work harder.
Yeah,
So this is my way of getting more around those people.
I love it, man. It's great. You know, when I was at Total Wine just a couple weeks ago, actually Saturday was my last day. I got to a point where I was like, I was the wine guy, and that's cool. It's fun that people come in and they look for you, and they come to you, because you know so much. But then I was like, man, I don't want to be the guy anymore. I want to be the one going to someone else. So
What do you mean?
So I
You want someone like waiting on you and serving you?
No, I want someone that I can learn from.
Oh, okay,
Right?
gotcha.
Yeah. So like I had the opportunity to teach everyone at work and help them grow, which was great. But like if I'm trying to go to the next level, I'm applying at places like Ada's and like Gara Gist, where they have Psalms who have these certifications that
Okay.
are, been doing it for a long time. I want to be around somebody that I can learn from.
Yeah, okay.
I need another mentor. I don't want to always be the mentor. You have to be mentoring someone and being mentored at all times.
What's your opinion on that? Some people say to be around more successful people. Some people say to balance the both. So you're bringing people up, but you're also learning. What's your balance on that?
I think it's both, man. In the church, obviously we call it discipleship, but they just recommend that you always good formula is always be learning from somebody and be teaching somebody else.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Because you don't want to be someone who just consumes and consumes and consumes all the time
And doesn't give back or
exactly.
help others. Yeah.
There's a book called The Go-Giver.
I may have read that. I definitely know the name of it.
Bob Berg and John David Mann.
Okay.
And it's a book that just talks about this guy that's in sales, and he's about to get fired, has a really bad time, and his coworker is just like he's doing really well, and his coworker comes in and he's like, hey, call this guy and he'll kind of give you some of his principles that I learned from him if he's willing to do that.
Yeah.
So he goes and he pursues this guy, and the whole book is him learning these 5 laws of I think it's atmosphere of success or something along those lines. But 5 laws of success, and 4 of them are what you can do for other people.
I gotcha.
So I firmly believe that you have to have somebody in your life that's teaching you, that you can learn from, gain wisdom from, somebody in your business. Whatever area it is you're trying to grow in, I think you need to find someone who already does it well consistently, and in real time. Because I can go talk to Warren Buffett about money, but some of his advice might be a couple decades old. You know what I mean? So you want to talk with somebody like
also
a Warren
the relatability
Buffett.
too, because he's so far beyond.
Yeah,
It's you're not financially educated on that level, so you need to be able to. I always say to become a person of success financially, you need to become that person.
Yeah.
Which could be like financial education, reading enough books, self-educated, doing enough courses, talking to enough people. You can't, like, people who inherit or win money are broke within 5 years. 80% of them are broke. Yeah. Because they're not financially educated. So things like that, right? You need to become that person to be able to handle that amount of money, or it's interesting that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where some of the habits come in, right? Like these
habits
people,
been huge.
Yeah, because you're already not good with money. You inherited money, or you won the lottery. That means you have a habit of trying to get money very quickly, which is why you lose it quickly.
Whereas I actually don't want to inherit money or win money. I want to do it myself.
Either. Yeah, it'd be great. But
and I know
like
it sounds weird, but I'd much rather do it myself.
Yeah. Oh, of course. You know, again, we talked about it earlier, that, you know, that character building, that, you know, that moment where, you know, even if it gets bad, I can do it again. I've gone through this before.
I'm guessing you sound like you read. You sound like you like books.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
What do you read? What do you like? What got you into reading? I love reading.
You know, I read a lot as I grew up. Read a lot of different kinds of books. You know, currently reading Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yeah. That's the yellow, the orange cover, right?
I think so. Yeah. I'm colorblind, so it looks peach to me.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably orange. Yeah. I'm currently reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. You know, I try to read a mix of spiritual books, you know, for my faith side, and also growth books. You know,
like business.
Yeah, like
what got you into that? Does your wife read?
My wife does not read.
Okay.
She's not a reader yet.
Okay.
She reads. She doesn't read as much as I do, but she's definitely she's into it, just less frequently.
Yeah. What got you started? I feel like it's, once you get into it, it's an addiction and it's amazing.
Oh yeah.
But what got you into that type of books and that type of reading? Was it when you started in faith? Was it before that?
It was both. So, you know, I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
So I discovered like John Maxwell at an early age, and guys like that. I read the Go-Giver when I was like 19 or 20, you know, and I've referred back to it a few times. But right now I have a lot of guys that are in my community. You know, my pastor and some of the other guys that I go to church with, like they're big readers. And
okay.
We're always kind of challenging each other. You know, what are you reading right now? What are you learning? And we're just really big. So
you get the right community.
Exactly.
Now.
My core group of friends, you know, they're all either business owners, or they're leaders of some sort.
How cool is that? So you went from friends, partying, addiction, to like readers, business owners, entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Where's your life going to go? Positive or negative?
Exactly.
Guaranteed to go positive.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Hardest thing to do is to change your company, you know, because we get so comfortable with people, and you know, we still love those folks, right? Like everybody that I used to.
It's not a personal thing.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. And you know, even if people want to believe that it is, it's personal because it's for you anyway. You know, and if they don't want to come with you, like I'd rather not drag people along.
Yeah. That's how, like for me, I have certain conversations with certain people. Hey, these are my business buddies. These are my fitness buddies. These are my you know, whatever it is, buddies. Can you keep those buddies after having an addiction, or is it easy just cut it?
Yeah,
chop the leg off and just never go back there.
It's better to just chop the leg off. You know, like I believe life is about seasons.
Okay.
You know, so we're all moving into different seasons of our life.
So you've been there and done that, and that you have no reason to even touch on that. Go back to that.
Exactly. You know,
yeah, it's funny because I have zero interest in going out or partying or drinking or at all these days.
Exactly. And you know,
but I've done it. I've been there. I've done that.
Of course. And if all those people that you used to party and drink with, if that's all that they're still doing, you have less in common now.
Yeah.
You've not much to talk about, right? Because they're not interested in hearing about what you're reading.
Yeah.
And you're not interested in hearing about, you know,
some girl they picked up or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. It's I think as your seasons change, you grow and your interests change, or you don't grow and you just stay where you're at, and people around you leave. You know, so people take it really personally when folks, you know, stop talking to them, stop hanging out with them. But you really look at, like, what does your life look like versus theirs, and does it even make sense for you to spend a lot of time together?
Yeah, it makes sense. You know? A good way of putting it.
Yeah, like you have a daughter, right? So you know, when she was first born, like mine's almost a year old now, I find myself not hanging out with my friends who are either single or a married couple with no kids.
Okay,
not as
gotcha.
much. You know what I mean? Because it's not only is it more challenging, but like, then again, your days just look different. You know?
Yeah,
so it makes more sense for me to spend time with
things that align
couples with kids, you know, or dads with kids. So
no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've never run a business before?
Not officially, no. I mean, you know, I was 10 years old, I'd go mow lawns or whatever I had to do. Like, again, I always had an entrepreneurial spirit.
How's it going running a business for the first time?
A lot of learning. You know, and that's I'm big, just head first, man. Go in, try it, see what works, and
What gives you the confidence to just go in head first?
what's the worst that can happen?
Oh, I like that.
You
I
know,
like that a lot.
like
What is the worst that can happen?
the worst thing that happens is it doesn't work out.
And then what? You get back up and try again,
Exactly.
right?
I either do it again or I do something
What's
different.
the worst thing? I like that. That's so simple but so powerful.
And like we've all heard that, right? But I also add, like, what's the best case scenario? Like give me the worst and the best case scenario. Right
Weigh
now.
them up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like my wife I was talking about earlier. She doesn't. She runs when things get hard. We've had a lot of conversations about committing to things, and just telling her like she took a test when she was going to college and never went back to figure out what she got on the test.
Gotcha. Okay.
She just kind of dropped out. I said, "What?" I was like, "Why not?" She's like, "I don't know. I didn't feel confident." I said, "What if you passed with like and got one wrong?" She's like, "I don't know." Like,
yeah.
Okay. You'll never know, and I made a commitment to my daughter that I won't get to the end of my life and allow her to be able to say that daddy didn't try his hardest.
I like that. Yeah.
I want to.
And being true to yourself and doing what you want to do.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like school instills in us to do what we're told, don't ask questions back, whatever you're told is fact.
Yeah.
And just to fit into the system.
That's it. I mean,
and you're not really taught, hey, you can self-educate, you can work for yourself, you can set your own hours, you can make as much or as little as you like. I don't work a lot.
Yeah.
I work very minimal hours. I try to outsource, I try to delegate, I try to do as least as possible because but it's hard because it goes against everything I've been taught to believe. Yeah. Everything I've seen my dad do. I saw my dad grind, work 40, 60-hour weeks.
Yeah.
For just like normal wage. And now I realize you can sit back and make more money and read and have podcasts and do what you want to do just by thinking different, acting different. But it takes time to break that cycle.
Yeah. Well, we go through it for 13 years at least, so 14,
you're
15.
Literally brainwashed in a way, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not dissing school, but I'm dissing what school tries to
well, I think one of the biggest scams in the U.S. is the idea that you need to do every prerequisite that a college gives you, even if it doesn't matter. So like you have to take a math and a science and a writing and all these things. And like some of those might not be important. I believe you should just be able to go to college, take the classes that are directly related to your field of study, and call it good. Because you're spending 2 years taking prereqs that
that's the thing.
You won't use.
I didn't go to college, but I read what I want to learn about.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Exactly.
Full stop.
Library's free.
Yeah, I mean, I do audio books, cost me $15.99 a book, and hey, I need to get better at marketing. I'll read 10 marketing books. Hey, now Facebook ad books, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I learn what I want to learn about for me and whatever I need at the time.
Yeah.
Not what someone else is telling me I think I need.
Exactly. And podcasts are so readily available. And there's so many people out there that would love to allow you to come work with them for a couple hours a day. I mean, I've told people, listen, if you want to get into media, call somebody and ask them to teach you. I got a kid that was at my job. He's like, oh, I'm trying to get my CDL, but the school is expensive. I said, find a smaller company, like family owned, because my father-in-law he drives trucks in Ohio. Yeah. And he always tells me, he said, if somebody wants to learn how to drive, they can just come work with me for free. I'll teach them how to drive, and they help me run the load. If you want to learn how to drive, I'll help you get your CDL, and it won't cost you anything but time. So, and
a little bit of effort, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big proponent of that. There's ways to learn that don't cost you any money.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Just it's Tony Robbins says it's not a lack of resources, lack of resourcefulness.
Yeah.
And that's always sticks with me. Just because this way doesn't work, step back, think bigger and wider, think outside the box.
Yeah.
There's always a way.
That's a great point. In this book, Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about how goals aren't as important as your systems, right? So
like system by habits, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So if your goal is to get here, so he shares a story of the British cycling team. Back in the 1900s, they were the worst, some of the worst teams, and there was a manufacturer that wouldn't even sell to them because they were so bad that they didn't want anyone to know that they were selling bikes to the British cycling team. It was tough. So he talks about getting 1% better every day, and if you get 1% better every day,
I remember that. Yeah.
You know, then you're 37% better by the end of the year. Or no, it was 0.1%, something like that.
Yeah, but just little baby steps, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he started doing studies, you know, figuring out what are the best clothes for them to wear, what are the best massage oils for them to use that bring the quickest recovery, and all these different types of things. They even got the right mattress for each individual rider to get the best sleep for their body. So he was really focused on, like, obviously the goal is win the Tour de France. But how do you win the Tour de France? You break it down into smaller pieces. Like every little thing matters. Every little thing you do, and every action we take each day is a vote for who we want to become.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. What are some of your habits that you've developed?
So I'm.
Did you have any good habits like before you?
A lot of bad habits. I
Yeah.
still don't put stuff away when I'm done with it.
Talk to me about the transition from bad habits into good habits, and then what are your good habits you have today consistently?
Yeah. So you know, I'm still building those habits, but I'm believing consistency is going to be the key thing.
Yeah.
Right now, I try to make a couple of contacts a day for these wine tastings that I'm doing.
Just like reaching out to people?
Yeah, reaching out to people, telling them what I'm doing, because I'm in transition.
Social media or
phone calls.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm
Which is hard enough on itself, isn't it? That's awesome.
Yeah. I have to tell myself, like, you got to pick up this phone. I'd rather text them, but you got to call.
It's a cop out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's you know, they can ignore you, but if you get somebody on the phone, it's better. So I'm trying to read every day.
Do you got a certain amount of pages you read, a certain amount of time?
Nope, just read.
Okay, just until you feel good.
I got a 10-month-old, so you know I read when I can, and tell my wife the same thing. Like, you're not gonna have a lot of time every day.
Yep.
But there's gonna be days where you have so much, you know, and but I mean you that 5 minutes, that one page that you read, that might be what you need in that moment.
Dude, I couldn't tell you how many times a 5-minute drive, I'm like, hey, I'll just put something on, and I get a gold nugget.
Oh yeah.
It's just in my tool belt for the rest of my life.
That's it.
I could have listened to the same song for 100,000th time, or I got this one piece of information out of 5 minutes, and I got it forever.
And you know, if you started that during an hour drive, you might miss it because it was in the very beginning.
Well, that too, right?
You know what I mean?
Or if you're going through something else different in your life, you might not relate, or you know, when you read the same book 10 times, you always get something new out of it because you're in a different point in your life.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't believe in coincidences, right? So everything happens the way it happens for a reason. There's a plan. You know, and so
the harder I work, the luckier I get, right?
Like, exactly. You know, that type of thing. But you know, it's like that moment, that 5 minutes. If you feel led to read in that 5 minutes or whatever it is, or do some push-ups, like, it's going to matter. So I committed to myself that no matter what I do, I won't go to bed without reading, without exercising.
Do you exercising daily?
Yeah, awesome. and it's not long, man. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Yeah. I'm out of shape. Round is a shape, but you know, to most people, I'm out of shape. But
you're doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is more than most people.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So, you know, and it's just building that habit. So now I'm used to exercising every day. So there's going to be days where I'm like, man, I could go longer.
Yeah.
You know, I can go longer than 5 or 10 minutes, and I will.
So cold calling, you're reading, you're exercising. What other good habits are you doing?
Oh man, trying to eat better. Eat better, sleep well. Good. You know, self-control is big. It's just portions.
It's all mental.
Yeah, it is.
It's mental. You know? Everything you're talking about is a mental state.
Yeah.
And eating is the biggest mental thing.
And for us, it starts at the store, right? So like we get ice cream, but we got like the mini Haagen-Dazs bars instead of the big ones.
So you can like ration them.
Yeah, you know, so like, okay, I can have an ice cream and it doesn't have to be this big whole, you know, huge tub. So it's you know, I don't believe in torturing yourself for what you want. You know,
for me, I always go back to the why.
Yeah.
The why for anything, especially when it comes to weight loss.
Yeah.
Why is this important enough for me to make the discipline and do the daily consistent habits?
Absolutely.
And for you, you're not obese, you're not like unhealthy. So why have you got to lose that little bit of weight? Because you know what I'm getting at? Because you're fine. But you can be healthier.
Yeah.
So what is it? Is it this is affecting my relationship? This is affecting my ability to play with my kid. Like you got to find a deeper meaning. Hey, I don't fit in a plane seat. You're obviously not going through a lot of these problems.
Yeah.
So you got to find something that is true to you.
Yeah.
Even for me, like I'm maybe 12% body fat. I'm 225. I get in better shape than most people. So I got to find an even deeper why. Why does it matter for me to be in better shape?
Yeah.
I've done this for 25 years. I live and breathe this. This is easy for me. So what makes me progress?
Yeah.
You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to be something very important.
Oh, of course, because otherwise there's no reason to work for it.
Or stay consistently with it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And if it's for everybody else, what's going to happen? You're going to lose some weight. Everybody will say, "Oh, great job," and then forget that. That's it.
But you got to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, it has to be for you, man, first and foremost. And that's what I've learned. Like I used to do so much for other people, and those kudos and those thank yous, they run out pretty quick.
Have you heard Tony? Did you read much of Tony Robbins stuff?
I took his DISC assessment, and I went through one of his training programs with an old job.
Have you heard him talk about like raising your standards?
No.
So what he says is, you want to make more money, raise your standard. So if your standard is, hey, I make $50,000 a year, and you want to make more money, hey, I'm not settling for any less than 75.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do whatever it takes to make 75. Same physically. Hey, I've been sitting around here. I want to be in better shape. My standard for myself has now been raised. I'm going to hold true to my standard.
Yeah.
And I really like that. That's always stuck with me.
Yeah.
So raising your standards personally for yourself.
Yeah, it's so important, man. And I think that's a big part of my recovery too. Is that I wanted to get
raising
better.
standards with that is a huge one, right?
Yeah,
I don't want this anymore. I want better for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
You raise your standards.
Because everybody else wanted me to stop, and quit a long time ago, but it wasn't until I was.
You had to do it for yourself, right?
Exactly. I was sick of it.
Yeah. So talk to me about your business itself. What do you exactly do?
Yeah, so we offer private sommelier services. So a sommelier is basically there's no clear definition depending on who you ask. You're on the floor of a fine dining restaurant, but to me it's just somebody who manages a wine program or sells wine. So I consider myself similar to a curator at a museum.
But for wine.
Yeah, but for wine. So
you're pretty knowledgeable on this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I still have so much to learn, and it's always changing, right? But my whole vision for this business is just to facilitate an experience through wine, because I know a lot about it. There's a ton of stories and really a romance that comes with wine. For me,
there's so much culture, and every Australia is so big on wine. But then you got Italy, you got all around the world, all huge on wines.
Yeah, and every bottle takes you to a particular place and a time and an area of the world. And I only get to travel through the bottles, but I get to share so many stories, and you're just hearing about. Like in Australia, there's a label called Molly Duker, which means left-handed person in Australia.
Okay.
And it's Dave and Sarah and Sparky Marquis. Sorry.
Okay.
And they're both left-handed, and they're a husband and wife team that make wine together.
Gotcha. That's interesting.
I mean, so like little stuff like that, it seems like nothing, but that's
a cool thing to know.
Yeah, it's a fun story.
Do you find people are taking that information, then they're at their next dinner party, they're being the guru because they know this little bit of information.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're regurgitating in their own words what you're taught them.
Yeah.
Now that's making them the wine connoisseur.
Exactly.
I like that.
It creates talking points. It makes it a little more fun. And wine is different from spirits because typically you're drinking wine, you're not trying to get somewhere quick, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to,
you're enjoying it. Yeah.
We're getting like 1942, a Classe Azul and whatever else. Like this is for social media. But with wine, we're sitting there. It might take you 10, 15, 20 minutes to finish one glass, But in the meantime, what are you doing while the wine's still in the glass before it's empty? You're talking and you're eating and you're sharing and all these things. So
is it small groups, big groups? Does it depend?
I usually try to have about 8 people. If it's a private party, I have one coming up.
It's pretty personal then.
Yeah, pretty personal usually. But I've also taught groups of 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing wine tasting, you're educating them on the wines and the history of the wines, and then you're also supplying like food, which is like the cheese platters and the meats and all that delicious stuff that I love.
We also cook. My wife bakes, so sometimes we'll do desserts. We've done. I've partnered up with a private chef friend of mine who's now in Miami.
Okay.
But Chef Vincent Watts, we've done a couple wine dinners together.
You have like complimentary food desserts to go with those type of wines too.
Exactly.
Which
Yeah.
I know nothing about.
Oh, but I do, right?
Yeah,
So all you gotta
yeah.
do
But
is
I know
call me.
there's a science there, right?
Yeah, no, a lot of it is science and chemicals. You know what I mean? The food is wine.
This complements
so.
this complement. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, wine is food, so they work together. You know, they're synonymous. You know, you talk about Italy. You mentioned it earlier. They make wine to go with food, like a lot of Europe.
Okay.
You know,
Interesting.
yeah, but there's wines that are great by themselves with food or both, and you know, so I really fit a mold into whatever event someone is doing. I mean, I can show up, pour, and be quiet. You know, or I can do an entire class on whatever somebody wants.
And I'm guessing you're super passionate about this.
Oh, I love it.
Really?
I love it.
You just get on a high there when you're like talking this stuff. It's like when I do this, I get on such a natural high that I'm like, I love this stuff.
Oh, it's great. I mean,
so you love going to work, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So I think my favorite part about it is the aha moments that people will have. Because I'll talk to people, oh, I only like this, or I don't like this kind of wine, or all these things, right? And like, I don't know if you drink wine, Brendan, but
not a wine drinker.
No. How do you like your coffee?
Black, because it's healthy.
All right. Okay.
I'm very boring.
No,
but it's my good habits.
I drink black coffee too.
Okay.
I love black coffee because there's a lot going on in coffee. It doesn't just taste like coffee.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Especially when you get like a cold brew or nitro cold brew or
exactly.
infused or.
Yeah. So you know, if you don't drink wine, but you tell me how you typically eat or what flavors you tend to lean toward, whether healthy or not, there's a wine out there for you.
Okay.
You know, and I love that about wine is even pairing it with food. Like I did one with the sweet wine, and most people don't like sweet wine if they've been drinking it longer than 10 minutes. You know, they want to go to the big bold stuff. But like sweet wine and spicy food go well together because heat loves sweet, and they kind of balance each other out. Sweet.
I like that. Yeah, it's catchy.
Yeah, you know, so they had this sweet wine with this pepper cheese. It wasn't pepper jack. It was something else. Oh, smoked pepper fontina.
Okay.
So the rind is all peppered and it's kind of hot, and then this wine is sweet. You have them together and they change completely.
I love seeing the passion in you when you talk about this.
Oh man, you
can live and breathe this. I love this.
So much fun, man. Like I said, I'm just curating the experience, and
What's your wife do while you're doing this? Is she just kind of like keeping everything running, like food wise, and
she sets everything up beforehand, and then sometimes she'll participate. Most of the time, she just kind of hangs back, does whatever she's doing.
Does she know much about wine like you do, or is she learning?
No,
is she passionate about
it? This is what I love about wine too. Is like I want to know everything, and she only cares about whether she thinks it tastes good. You know, and I love that because we can have the same amount of fun at a wine tasting. Because that's
two different ways.
Yeah, that's the only important question in wine is, do I like this? You know, everything else is not necessary.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What type of people are you getting? Like, what age are they? Males, females, couples, bachelorette parties?
Dude, everybody, and especially.
Are you getting like early 20s as well? Like, are you getting young people, or is it because it's wine? It's more like mature audience.
You know, I think a lot more young people are interested in wine, especially because most of us. In the States, we would start drinking at like 15 or 16,
yeah.
Right? So you kind of wear yourself out, and I think the culture is just kind of shifting. And you see athletes like LeBron James is in wine, Dwayne Wade has a wine, and
oh really? Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Steph Curry and his wife.
Does he really?
Yeah, they have Domaine Curry in Napa, so there's a lot of guys. CJ McCollum. Charles Woodson, football player. I mean, you could go on, but there's a lot of athletes and celebrities that people look up to. I suppose they're big influences in our lives. You see them drinking wine, and like LeBron, kid from Akron, Ohio. I don't know how many people from Ohio are really super into wine, but you see that and you're like, oh, well, if he drinks it, then
so that's helping more the young generation get into it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Exactly.
So who was your main, who was the main people? Is it just everybody, or do you have a certain demographic that you're generally coming to then?
I think it's a good mix. My contact list is full of people that are close to my age, but I've also served and taught people that are in their 50s and 60s.
How does someone go listening to someone in their 20s if they're like a wine guru and they're in their 50s? Yeah. They give respect. There's a little bit of snubby. I think snubbiness before Gary Vee came along. I
Yeah.
feel like wine had quite a snobby appeal about it.
And it still does, you know, and I don't, I'm trying to break that barrier down because there was a statistic I read that like 3 out of 4 people, or 75% of adults are intimidated by wine. You know, and that's sad, because you shouldn't be, because you know there's also different, but it's people that create that intimidation. It's about
years ago,
status.
right? Yeah.
You know.
Do you know Gary Vee? You watch his stuff, like Wine Library TV.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what he did. Like he had a lot of haters for doing that, but that's why he did it, to break that stigma, and so everybody could be educated on it.
Yeah.
So you're just passing that on, doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of fitting that mold. You know, when I started working at Total Wine, I would hear a lot of things along the lines of, "I know it's cheap, but," or I know it's not good, but this is my favorite wine. It's like, so who cares what it costs and how complex it is. So that really, like, at first it confused me. Why would you think that? And then I realized what would cause people to think that. Because if you're in the wrong room and you say you like X wine, people might turn their nose up at you.
That perception.
That I don't care about that. You know, like for me, I like interesting before I like good. I want something different. You know, so I go get coffee and like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me try that. Even if I don't like it, I'm like, oh, I'm glad I gave it a shot.
Yeah, absolutely,
it's
right.
Different, you know?
Absolutely. There's so many wines out there. So how do you prep for it? Is it a party? How do you describe what you actually the event? What's the right name for it?
Yeah, I mean, I just call them wine events. It depends.
Wine event,
because if we can have a dinner, we can have a tasting, we can have a party, whatever you want to do.
So how do you prep for that? How many wines you bring? Is it different? Is it the types? Is it more expensive? Is it cheaper? Can people require, like, there's a lot of moving parts there.
Absolutely. You know, most of the time people kind of give me creative freedom. Like I'm building trust. Before anybody ever hires me for a party, they need to know that A, I know what I'm talking about, and B, that I'm going to give them the experience that they want.
How have you built that trust? Have you got an online presence where you're doing this publicly?
I'm working on my online presence. A lot of it is you know, teaching at work, or just talking to people through my job and serving them there.
Okay.
You know, and once people realize you know what you're talking about in regards to anything, they'll kind of open up a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah. So the way I build a party is just ask, you know, some questions of whoever's hiring me. Like, what's your vision for the party? What's the goal? What are we doing? How do I fit into that?
Do you kind of find out the age and type of people coming, or it
doesn't matter to me?
Interesting.
Yeah. So you know, we already talked about, like, you're the sum of your 5 closest friends. So if somebody's having a wine event, right, and they're inviting their friends, I'm going to assume, for the most part, that they're about at the same level
as the person on the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Maybe even similar taste and those type of things.
Okay.
So as long as I please the host, everybody else is just going to be happy to show up and drink.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's some of the coolest events you've had? Like, if you had some really big ones, have you had like anyone famous?
I haven't had anybody famous
yet.
I haven't had anybody famous yet. You know, I got to do a Galentine's for a friend of mine.
What is that?
So it's like a Valentine's Day party with just girls.
Gals, okay.
You know, yeah. So
are they single girls?
No, they weren't all single. Some of them were married. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So friend of mine.
That's a cool thing to market.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So she hired me for it. She called and said she's an event planner, so she wanted to do a Galentine's for her and her friends.
Okay.
And she was like, I know you do the wine thing, so I want you to come. And we started talking about, you know, what her vision for it was. So this was kind of interesting because she gave me some buzzwords. It was like raunchy, sexy, classy, and a couple others.
Okay.
Sensual and something else. So she gave me like 6 buzzwords, and she said, find wines that taste the way these words sound, you know, that fit these descriptions.
Challenge for me.
So it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, like raunchy, I got like this earthy wine. You know, for sensual, I got like this chocolate wine. It was a dessert one. You know,
that's cool.
That type of thing. Classy, I did a champagne. You know, stuff like that. So that was a fun one. I got one on Friday. We're doing like all Pinot Noir, which is one grape, but it's so different if you go to different parts of the world.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, I mean, I think there's endless amounts of ways that you can build a menu for your party.
That's interesting. Are you going to them? Where do you host
Usually,
these?
I go to them if they hire me. Most of the time, I host at my home. You know,
Oh, do you
we'll
really?
do up the backyard, yeah,
Oh, cool.
decorate the table and stuff, and a lot of those photos of how that looks are on my Instagram. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I mean, I'm open, you know, and I have enough friends around the city that if I ask to borrow somebody's backyard or dining room, that I might be able to make something
That's
happen.
cool. How's your marketing going? How's it work? Your online presence, your social media. Who's in charge of that? Are you doing a good job?
I'm in charge of it. I'm not doing a great job, but it's because you know, I haven't made the effort to learn as much as I need to learn.
Well, you're also running the party, so it's got to be hard to like sit there and take photos when
Yeah,
when you're the person
that's something
hosting.
that Chef Vince told me. He said you just got to take a moment to pause, and he was bad at it in the beginning too. He said I just had to remind myself, take photos of what you made, what you created, you know, and document.
Document,
right? Yeah. You know, something that I learned from Gary Vee. Sonny talks about it a lot. You know, who was on your podcast and just documenting everything.
Yeah.
I'm learning to do that. I mean, if we open a wine on a Tuesday and I have it with dinner, snap a couple photos. Now I have content. You know?
Yeah, or even just building up the momentum before the party on Friday, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm looking at. This
That's
one,
a good
this
point.
one.
I don't do that one.
Yeah, I like my mind's just going like a million ideas coming out there.
Yeah.
Are you getting testimonials, things like that at the party from customers? Hey, how was your experience, or what was your favorite wine, or
yeah, you know, I try to engage as the party goes on. So you know, I'll talk about usually I'll do like 5 wines, anywhere between 4 and 6. I think is a good amount. You know.
I got an idea. You use TikTok or not?
No.
Oh, you need to get on TikTok.
My wife uses TikTok. But
right,
if you tell me, I'll tell
before
her
we meet again, you need to get on TikTok. You need to get your business on TikTok.
All right.
But there's a guy with cookies.
Okay.
And he walks around in the public space and he gives out cookies to customers and he films their reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes the cookies, but he films it.
Oh wow.
So what you could do sometime at your party is you could give someone a tasting and literally film their reaction right there and then.
That's cool.
And that's just organic, real footage.
I like
content.
That.
So like, hey, this is this chocolate wine. This is what was the word you used for the chocolate wine?
Oh, essential.
Yeah, this is a essential chocolate wine. Yeah. Record. What do you think?
Yeah.
So I was like, good. Oh my god! Like, oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Content right there.
Yeah, that's
and
funny.
It doesn't get any more like real than that.
That's a good word, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to use that.
Little things like even like group photos at the end. You're getting that, like everyone's smiling, laughing. Pictures,
try to get some photos.
Leveraging that to the next group.
Exactly. Yeah. I told one of my students, you know, she's in high school. I was like, you could come and take some photos because I'm bad at it. You know, I'll give you $20. You show up, and he just takes some photos. She's happy to do it. A couple hours. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not great with the social media, but I'm getting better at it. And I'm also I'm okay with it not being perfect. I'm believing I'll get better as I get reps.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's just practice.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're learning, hey, I can document this and this. I never thought about this, or
that's
watching
good.
other people.
And I'll have the patience to put something together for 30 straight minutes, you know, for that's a 10-second like loop or whatever.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
As far as you mentioned before we started, as far as having an addiction with alcohol and now working in the industry.
Yeah.
How's that going?
Yeah.
How have you separated that and kept that separated?
Yeah. So a lot of
do you drink when you're at?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you do have like drink with them.
Yeah, I drink. If I haven't tasted the wines before, you know, if I really like them, I pour myself. And most of the time, the servings that I pour at these events are like 3 ounces tops.
Well, you have so many, you couldn't have too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you know, so if we're doing 5 wines, and you know, I do 3 ounces per person, no matter how many people are there. And that's the max, because after 2 hours now you've had 3 glasses of wine.
Yeah.
You know, which is reasonable. So yeah, you know, so I'll pour myself a splash. You know, I believe I'm able to do this job, and it's just because of my foundation and my faith and through grace and stuff. And there's a verse in the Bible that says, you know, whatever you do, whether you eat, it says whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do it to the glory of God. Right. So I really took that to heart. I said, all right, as long as I can continue to do this to the glory of God, and I know that like I'm knowing my limits. If I start to feel buzzed, I usually stop drinking.
Okay.
You know, so I have the ability.
Is that hard to do?
Yeah, and the self-control. What was that?
Is that hard to do? Like just when you do start to feel it, like, hey, this is enough.
No, I think I've really grown in my self control in the last couple of years. Because I was sober for over a year before I even got back into it, and then I'm like, all right, just one drink when we go out and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I'm not compromising everything that I'm doing, but I'm capable of stopping, and I wasn't able to do that before.
Interesting.
So really just growing in my self control, and that spills over into eating and everything else. So
Absolutely right.
yeah,
It's either all or none.
yeah. So
Everything's good.
If you have to start, if you struggle with an addiction, it begins with self control, or part of it is self control anyway. So start somewhere where it's not a problem, like eating. Start growing in self control in the way that you eat, in the way that you talk, or whatever it is, and then that'll spill over because it becomes a habit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anyone ever got like too drunk or done anything silly? Or you keep it under control?
I usually keep it under control.
Somebody's grabbing wine from the kitchen and adding to the pie.
Yeah, right. No, I try to facilitate the best that I can most of the time. People don't. Most of the time they don't get up unless it's to go to the bathroom, right?
Okay.
Unless we're having a party, we're walking around. But I keep it in a semi-controlled environment because it's not open bar.
Yeah.
I've served cocktails at some of my events. Yeah, so I'm like trying to level up in mixology and stuff. So I'll serve a cocktail in the beginning, and I have had one instance where one of the guys was just like, "Oh, can I have another one?" I said, "No, we're past that part of the party already. So we're here now."
Yeah.
And I think you just say that in a kind way, like, "No, flow of service is that's back there."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
as far as coming into a new business, what's some of the mistakes you've made? Like things that you're like, hey, I should have done this, could have done this better. Like we talk about mistakes being essential.
Yeah. Not having not really a business model, but not having a clear price or a clear pricing model.
Okay.
Something I struggled with.
You mean when you get a call, an inquiry, being able to like quote a price over the phone?
Yeah.
Or just how to quote it in general?
No, I like just being firm in that price and and making sure it's clear, and not not wavering in it. So like
Are people negotiating with you? You mean?
Oh, I negotiate.
Okay.
It has to make sense for me because it's a lot of time that goes into these things, and I'm willing to fit any budget, right?
Okay, so you will cater around budgets and things.
Yeah,
okay.
Of course. Yeah,
within reason.
Yeah, and I mean it's not like $1,000 and I'll serve you, but I mean somebody wants to spend $300 on a party, we'll find a way to do that where I get paid and you get quality.
You don't just have set packages. You will also. Do you have set packages and you'll cater?
Yeah. So
because I mean it's probably different, right? Different people, different locations.
So since my wife does the charcuterie, she charges $15 to $20 a person, and that includes food cost and her labor.
Okay.
So she gets paid and the food gets purchased.
So that's a way of measuring that way.
Cost.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, my pricing model is 15%. Per person charges 15% of the total wine budget. So if you want $100, you want to spend $100 on wine, it's $15 per person to serve whatever wine I purchase.
Gotcha.
So it can be expensive or cheap depending on how big your party is and how much you want to spend.
But you figured out a system how to adapt it.
Yeah, and it's proportionate because if somebody wants to spend $1,000 on wine, they probably have $150 a person for me to serve them.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Did it take you a while to figure that out?
It did.
Yeah, I bet
I just came up with that like a few weeks ago. I'm like, all right, it makes sense. It's proportionate and it's reasonable. So.
Is there a business you look up to in Vegas or even around the world somewhere that does this for longer and better than you that you're striving to be towards?
No.
Or was this something you just came up with yourself? Like, where did the inspiration come from?
There's a lot of wine bars, tasting rooms out there, and stuff like that. But I haven't met anybody or come across anybody yet that offers something like I offer.
Okay.
There's a lot of wine people out there, and they'll host tastings, or there's wine dinners everywhere. You go to a wine dinner wherever you want, and there's wine bars and there's tasting rooms. But I mean, I really I want to create a space where people who aren't into it yet, or don't think they could be into it at all, to come and feel welcomed and feel invited. And I really just believe wine is for everyone. So I'm more focused on the experience as opposed to selling the wine, or even just pairing it with the food. I think it's great to pair it with food, but I just want to usher people in and through the world of wine until they don't need me anymore.
Are you able to upsell any bottles of wine afterwards?
So
if
yeah,
someone likes it.
I just started selling wine with a wine collection called the Jean-Charles Boisset collection. So they have about 25 wineries between California and France.
Yep.
So I'm going to start using those wines in my tastings, so they'll be available for purchase.
And then can you sell them afterwards or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So that's a great upsell.
Yeah, it's all e-commerce, but up until then, or up until now, I haven't. I've just been getting my wine from Total Wine or wherever else. They sell the wine.
Do you get it on a discount or anything because of what you do?
At work, yeah.
Okay.
I used to get a good discount, so it was helpful.
What going along in the future? Do you worry about burnout? You just the whole business being revolved around you? Are you looking to train other people to so you can run two parties at the same time? Like where are you going in the future?
I always told my wife whatever pace we set, it needs to be manageable and scalable. So if we ultimately, excuse me, I want to own a wine bar, a tasting room or something. Like just a brick and mortar space to host these events and run them all week or and sell wine out of them if I can, or whatever the case is. But if we do three parties a week, 4 parties a week or something, and take a weekend off, I'd be happy with that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you're not necessarily trying to create this like millions of dollar empire. You just like what you do, and
I love what I do.
You're along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
With the Boisset collection, I have the ability to like get people on my team and help them sell wine too, and all that stuff. However they do it. But I think as far as like teaching people to host my parties, it's I'd be open to it, but it's one of those things. It's oh man, it's you kind of have to.
It's that next level in the business.
Yeah, exactly.
And you may not even want to go there.
Yeah. Probably not. I think if I have a wine bar and having people serve there, that's different than curating the experience, because that's what this is all about anyway. So.
And I guess every party you got different wines, you have different conversations.
Yeah.
If it was the same wine every time, you'd be having the exact same conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, no matter how passionate you are, eventually that's got to get stagnant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And then what's it like working for yourself now? Like, you enjoying the freedom? You like the flexibility? Is the stress killing you?
No, I do like the flexibility. I don't. I used to worry a lot, and I used to plan a lot, but I still plan, but I'm not like changing my plans constantly. I think I'm just really growing in time management. When I'm tired, I'm tired. And that's it. As long as I can remain productive. I don't tell myself I have to work for 2 and 3, or even studying. I don't have to study for 2 or 3 hours. I got my flashcards, and I'm working on my 3rd cert now. And after I start getting lazy, I'm just like, all right, I'm put them down, walk off. Go do something else. And so yeah, I like the flexibility that it offers. I'm not super worried about burnout. Just I want to manage my time, manage the pace, and be willing to say no.
I like the fact that you're not necessarily trying to make this massive business. Yeah. You're okay if you just make. Have you got a financial goal you're trying to like? Obviously, I don't need to know it, but have you got something financially you're trying to hit where you can maintain that? That's kind of where you want to be, or you just say we'll see where this goes and run with it.
I think I was reading a book, and they said that people don't get happier. Like the number for happiness is like about 70,000.
Yeah, I know
$70,000. After $70,000,
there's no significant difference.
Yeah, there's no significant difference in the amount of happiness. And I'm like, okay, 70,000, like it's not bad. And I got the baby. I think we really just want to build for the future. We want to save, and whether that's in IRAs or anything else, like we want to be financially free later on down the line. I mean, if I can have an account that grows in interest, you know, and have a couple million in there by the time I'm 50 or something,
Yeah.
and just live off the interest, you know, then I'll be happy with that.
I know the exact quote you're talking about. They're saying like anything up to 70 grand is a significant difference in your life. And once you hit over 70 or 75, it's not really any major difference.
No, there's not, you know.
Besides the extra stress and that come with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what the top 1% make in this country? How much money per year?
Don't.
400,000.
Really?
To be in the top 1%.
Wow.
So I from my experience, I always thought to be in the top 1%, you got to make 10 million, $100 million. It's actually only $400,000.
Yeah.
And I know it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but if you make $400,000 every year, that adds up pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You have a hard time spending that amount of money.
Yeah.
No matter how many toys or stupid mistakes you make.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and there's I have in my phone like a list of businesses, and it all comes down to execution. So I would share any of my business ideas with anybody because I don't believe I'm in competition with anyone but myself.
A lot of people hold it close to the chest, don't they?
Why would I do that? Because you know you still have to go out there and follow through. So
Gary Vee talks about it all the time, doesn't he? He goes
exactly.
he goes, I can say this amazing business idea, but 99.9% of you aren't going to take action on it.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna be like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I want to create a Vivino for spirits. You know.
What's that?
Vivino is this app that a lot of people use to like scan a wine bottle.
Okay.
And then you can see real life reviews from, you know, everyday people.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, you know, so it's on a 5-star scale, and you can write a comment, leave your review, say what you think about the wine.
Do you like to make your own app of that?
Yeah, but with spirits instead, because there's nothing.
Okay, there's nothing out there.
No, not really.
Really?
There's one called Distill, but it's more teaching you about the brand.
Okay.
So I want to make something that's more consumer related.
Like a public.
Yeah, because people come in, you know, you go to a store, if you don't want to talk to anybody about what's on the shelf, you know, where there's nobody there that knows about tequila, you can scan whatever tequila you think looks interesting and then see what 100 or 1,000 people say about it.
Yeah, if it's any good.
Yeah.
Because the packaging is one thing, but what does it actually taste like?
Exactly. So, you know, I want to create one of those.
That's interesting.
Have a fleet of cars for Turo. I mean, I'd get an ice cream truck and just pull up to park. So, you know, in the summer. So
I like
a bunch of stuff.
I like it. Cool. Thank you so much for today.
Man.
That was a pleasure. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing, and